Hey everyone, and welcome to the news. I'm getting this set up here. I actually had something come up today, so I needed to go ahead and knock out the news a little bit earlier today on the day that I was planning on starting, doing the stream, pushed back a little bit. So just a little bit of an unfortunate turn of events there, but that's all right. We're going to go ahead and get into the news and talk about all of the crazy things that happened at BlizzCon and that are coming up here in the near future. So let's go ahead and jump in. As always, I'll be doing a little Q&A, checking on your questions in the chat at the end of the stream if you have any. So let's get started with our usual WoW news. So first off, we've got new events for this week coming up. We've got our new world boss is G-Arak in Zuldazar. We've got a pet battle bonus event going on this week. So this will allow you to get experience at triple the usual rate for your pet battles. So it's a great time to not only level your pets, but also you get experience from your pet battles as well. So it's a good way to get rapid leveling on your pets while also getting some experience for your character as well. We've got Twilight Dragon invasions this week for the island expeditions, and that includes a Twilight Dragon mount. I have seen some of these myself. I also got a nice little transmog sword from that as well. So that's the things coming up for this week. Also, reminder for everybody, this is the first week of November, the first full week. So the Dark Moon Fair is going on, so you can get the XP buffs and things from that. So next up, we've got the Alliance Hall of Fame. So we talked about this before. The Horde Hall of Fame had closed. The top 100 Horde guilds had defeated Gahoon on Mythic, defeated the Uldir raid. That has now happened for the Alliance as well. I think it's been about a month or so since the Horde closed theirs, but now the top 100 Alliance guilds have also been named. So at the end of the next reset, which has already happened, the Hall of Fame has closed. And the last piece of kind of generic news, the new charity pet was announced at BlizzCon. This is Whomper. He's a little Yeti. And 50% of the proceeds, I believe, no, 100% through December 31st of the proceeds will go to help out Code.org. Code.org is an organization that will... It tries to help expand knowledge of computer science to schools and increase participation by women and underrepresented minorities. So if you're interested in the pets or you just want to help out with that type of charity, this pet is actually already available. So you can check it out and pick them up if you like. All right, couple of other WoW related announcements. We got some details about Classic WoW. So first off, Classic WoW is going to be coming out sometime during the summer of 2019. And your live sub for World of Warcraft will also give you access to WoW Classic. So you don't need a second sub to play WoW Classic. And so far, they haven't said anything about needing an initial purchase either. It looks like this is just going to be an additional bonus for having a subscription to World of Warcraft already. So I think that's going to allow a lot more people to try it out. It's also going to boost their sub numbers overall because you have people that don't care about World of Warcraft but care about Classic, so they'll get the subscription and then they'll count towards both. The other thing that we learned about Classic is that it's going to have staged content unlocks. So what's going to happen is you're going to be able to... Classic is starting in patch 1.1.2, which was basically the last patch before the Burning Crusade came out. And if you were to just start there, then everything that happened in Classic would have already happened. So what they're doing instead is they're starting in 1.1.2 in terms of balance and things like that, the way the classes are structured. But what they're going to do is release the content from vanilla in stages so that you still get to sort of experience that content as if you were playing vanilla back in 2004 and 5. So they're currently thinking that in stage 1 they're going to have Molten Core, Onyxia, Dire Maul, Kazakh, and Azergos available. And then they'll go through in the next stage, they'll release more raids, more world bosses, and things like that. So this is an interesting way, I think, to release the content. I think this is a good idea, and I feel like most people who are really interested in Classic will appreciate this. They're going to be doing the full Encourage thing again and all that kind of stuff. So if you weren't there and you've just heard about it a lot, then you can go back and experience that in Classic once that comes out next year. Along with Classic, we got an announcement for Warcraft 3 Reforged. So this is a remaster of the original Warcraft 3 game. They have said that it is essentially a recreation of the game, meaning it won't necessarily be exactly the same, just with better graphics, but that, the ability for them to tweak some things and add some improvements is on the table. So that's something to keep in mind. I think that's perfectly fine. I think with the technology we have nowadays, there are things that they'll be able to do to help improve the overall play experience of the game. And it doesn't really sound like they're going to be doing a whole lot to it, like major sweeping changes or anything. It sounds like for the most part, it is going to be a reskin, remaster. They'll just probably make some quality of life tweaks as well. All right, let's move in and talk about patch 8.1. So we've got some new stuff. The first thing is patch 8.1 will be released on December 11th. So we're a little bit over a month away from being able to play all the stuff that comes with patch 8.1. Personally, as time has gone by, I am the most excited about being able to get to do the incursions because I have so many alts to level, and I'm really starting to get tired of just powering through island expeditions. And I'm sure you're getting tired of watching me do island expeditions on stream, so that'll be a fun change up, I think, being able to do those incursions as well. And in between now and then, I think I'm going to dip my toes into PvP a little bit. So, Tide 8.1 Tides of Vengeance is coming out December 11th, and we did get another new little model here. Just some updated ghost models. They look pretty good. And that's all the 8.1 news that, is really worth talking about, which brings us to 8.1.5. Now keep in mind, my intention with all this stuff is as much as possible to not spoil any of the story for you. So I'm mostly going to be talking about systems or big bullet points, not going really in depth into the nitty gritty details of every single thing. So as we move forward into 8.2 especially, there are going to be some big story spoilers, but I'm not going to dive into them. I'm basically going to use the same kind of bullet points that were at BlizzCon. So if you're worried about spoilers, now's probably a good time to tune out. Otherwise, like I said, I'm just going to hit those big bullet points for you. So 8.1.5. So here's what's coming in 8.1.5. We have the Zandalari Trolls and Kul Tiran humans available. Now, before we talk about them, I want to make a note. There was a correction that Blizzard released in regards to some of their classes. The two clarifications they made were that Warlock is not going to be available for Zandalari Trolls. They had posted this somewhere as being available. That was incorrect. And they had also listed Kul Tirans as not being able to be mages, but they are able to be mages. So keep that in mind when we look at the class listing here. So the Kul Tiran are going to be able to be druids, hunters, monks, priests, rogues, shamans, warriors, and mages. So that's going to be a total of 8 different classes available to the Kul Tirans. I know personally my intention is to race change my druid to a Kul Tiran so I can get all those cool Wicker Beast forms. We also got information on the racials for the Kul Tirans. They have Brush It Off, which increases versatility and you regenerate a portion of damage taken. Child of the Sea, you can hold your breath longer and swim faster. Not that useful on a druid, so I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind. Haymaker, haul off and punch an enemy, stunning and knocking them back. Jack of all trades, increases skill in every trade skill. And Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, reduces frost and nature damage taken. Now, a lot of these I think I predicted fairly accurately back when we just got the icons for them, but this is definitely the official racials available. Zandalari Trolls are going to be able to be druids, hunters, mages, monks, paladins, priests, rogues, shaman, and warriors. So once again, they get 9 classes. it looks like, compared to the 8 for the Coltirans. But I know a lot of people are looking forward to Horde Troll Paladins, so that's something for a lot of people to be excited for. I was actually going to change my Warlock into a Zandalari Troll, and that's now not an option, so I'll have to figure out what it is that, I want to make for a Zandalari Troll. Their racials are Embrace the Loa, Pray to a Loa and gain their favor. City of Gold, you can loot additional coin from monsters. Regenerating, Concentrate to heal quickly over a short time. And Pterodax Swoop, you can whistle up a Pterodax to glide you to the ground. Those all sound pretty useful. I think those are some interesting they sound good for like a farming class, being able to get extra gold from monsters, being able to glide to the ground, being able to do a quick heal in between mobs, and then depending on how the praying to a Loa thing works, it could give you a potentially nice buff against various types of enemies. So I'm definitely interested to see a little bit more of what Embrace the Loa is all about. Okay, so after that in 8.1.5, we've got Arathi Basin and Warsong Gulch being remastered. Now, for my part, the PvP battlegrounds that I have played the most are Arathi Basin and Warsong Gulch. So I'm actually really excited to see these different updates and remasters for these battlegrounds. I think it's a good reason to want to jump back into PvP to see all these updated models and things like that. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. I haven't done a lot of PvP in these zones for years now, so it'll be interesting to go back and see how it plays now versus how it did in the early days of World of Warcraft. Next up, we're getting a roller coaster for Dark Moon Fair. I don't know what this does. I don't know why they're adding it in. I don't know why it's a big deal. I'm actually really confused about the addition of this roller coaster. I don't know if it's just a fun thing. I don't know if it's a weird Easter egg. I really don't know what's going on with it, but they kind of made a big deal of it at BlizzCon. Now, that being said, they did mention in general that they wanted to make some updates to some of the holidays that they feel are getting long in the tooth and are kind of outdated. So Children's Week is getting a quest for the Zandalari and Coltiran orphans. They're adding some new micro holidays, including the Wanderers Festival, which is a Pandaren themed festival, Vashir Diving, so underwater themed, and then Free T-shirt Day as well. So we'll have to see what all that means. I know that when I was going through doing like Brewfest and stuff like that, it did feel really outdated, and I was kind of wondering if they wouldn't get around to updating some of their holidays and bringing them more in line with kind of the reward loop of modern WoW. We're also going to be getting Warlords of Draenor time walking, so we'll be able to go back and time walk the WoD dungeons. Personally, I'm not too crazy about the WoD dungeons. They're okay. They're definitely not my favorite, but there are going to be 2 different mounts available from WoD Time Walking. We've got an Elk over here, and then we've got a wolf. I think that wolf is really, really cool. So if nothing else, that'll be reason for me to do some time walking in WoD, is to get this super sweet blazing wolf mount, which is pretty awesome. They're going to be doing portal rooms in each of the capital cities of the factions. So they're going to take all the portals that are kind of scattered around the capital cities. So, in Org, you've got some that are kind of up top on a cliff. You've got some that are down in the Cleft of Shadow. And they're basically just going to make a big room where all the portals are going to be located. And one of the things that they've said is that they're going to leave room to add additional portals in the future so that they don't have to keep trying to find random places to put portals, but that everything can be centralized inside of this one main room. This is a pretty huge deal, I imagine, for a lot of people who are really into professions. 8.1.5 is going to be bringing profession quest lines and profession items. So you can take a look here. These are the different items, and I'm sure my head is in the way of one of them. Let me scooch out over here. That way you guys can pause and see that. These different items are going to be things that you're able to get from the quest lines, and they have pretty powerful effects. So, for example, the blacksmith one allows them to repair a piece of their equipment instantly, and then when crafting blacksmithing armor and weapons, there's a chance it will be given the indestructible property. Now, I kind of talked about these already in one of my other streams, and I don't want to take the time to go over every single one of these here, but a lot of these look pretty good. Some of them I can see some issues with. For example, what's the point of making blacksmithing armor and weapons that are indestructible if they're, not actually quality pieces of gear that people want to buy? Like, if that's a combination, like, hey, this piece of gear is really good, so you'd want to have it anyway, and on top of that, it's now indestructible and you never have to repair it, that's a really good combination. And I think that makes this a really valuable item. However, if you're just getting indestructible on items that people are going to want to replace as soon as possible, that seems a little less valuable. So if you look around at some of these, some of them I also don't really know. Like, I don't know what the synchronous thread is supposed to do. I've got some ideas, but yeah, go through, take a look at these. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below as to what you think some of these will end up doing. And then we've got the Brawlers Guild is getting an update with a complete murder mystery quest line that you have to punch people in the face to solve. They've got new tiers, new bosses. And then there's going to be a new Brawlers Guild transmog set. So this is pretty cool. And it looks like there's only the one set, which means this is a transmog set that's probably applicable to all armor classes. So cloth, mail, leather, and plate. We'll have to see. They didn't confirm that. They didn't say that, but they didn't show off any other types of sets. So it makes me wonder, whether or not that's going to be the case, because they've said multiple times that they like the silhouettes of the different armor classes to stay pretty consistent. So throwing something like the Brawlers Guild Transmog set in that can be applied to anything seems to maybe defeat the purpose of that, but we'll see. And then also we've got Bruce the Mount as well with the Brawlers Guild. And then finally, there's going to be a new Brawl event, the Arathi Comp Stomp Brawl, where you actually fight the AI from Island Expeditions in Arathi Basin. I think that'll make it for an interesting event, and I think it'll be fun, especially for those of us who would like to try some PvP style content, but maybe don't have the skills to pull our own weight in normalized PvP. So that's everything coming in 8.1.5. It's quite a lot of stuff. So it looks like we're going to have a lot to look forward to after 8.1. Right now, I think 8.1 is going to be a lot of the same as 8.0. The incursions, I think, are going to be pretty fun. Looking at what's coming in 8.5, I think the allied races are a nice addition, but they don't change the gameplay loop. I think that Arathi Basin and Warsong Gulch, those are good. Those are nice little tweaks to PvP. They also don't help anything with the PvE situation we have. The micro holidays, all this kind of stuff, I think is all good sort of quality of life additions, but I don't think it does anything to change the major issues that we've been having in the base level expansion. And 8.1, I don't think does enough to change those issues either. So it looks like, in all reality, 8.1, 8.1.5 are going to be holding us over until 8.2. And that's the patch we're going to talk about now. What's coming in 8.2? Now, I will say the way that Wowhead has this article laid out, they kind of lumped 8.2.5 in with 8.2. So some of this stuff is 8.2, most of it, and some of it's 8.2.5. So keep that in mind. But we've got a lot of stuff coming in 8.2. We've got an entirely new zone in Nazjatar, which is the home of Ashara. This is going to be not an underwater zone. We're going to go to a crack in the ocean, essentially where Nazjatar is going to be located. And you can see here, this is the map. You're going to start out in the ship graveyard from one of your hubs, and then you go into either the kelp forest or the coral forest. We're going to see the ruins of Zin Ashari, which is the original home of the Night Elves, and then Ashara has her own palace called the Eternal Palace as well. So this is going to be the outdoor zone that we're going to. Obviously, that's going to give us a brand new set of content to play through, new zones and things like that to go to and experience. So I think this is going to change the gameplay up for us just a little bit. Taking a look at some of we've got a few different like art mock-ups, but then we also have a couple of in-game shots here. So this is the kelp forest, and we also have, this is the coral forest as well. I think these are pretty interesting zones. They're a lot different than the stuff that we've been getting so far. So I like that. I like I mean, and the zone design in Battle for Azeroth has been fantastic, and I expect that to continue on into future content as well. There are going to be a lot of storylines around Nazjatar. The Horde is going to meet up with a group of kind of plucky heroes of sorts or adventurers, and the Alliance is going to be interacting with this new race of people that are basically on the border of extinction. So, and we're gonna have new foes. We're gonna have new rewards. I think they did a really good job on this seahorse here. It actually looks like a combination of a horse and a seahorse that isn't a seahorse. I don't know if that made any sense, but it doesn't look like a seahorse. It looks like an underwater aquatic horse, and I think they did a really good job on the design there. And then this crab mount is pretty cool as well. Oh, and there's a baby Naga as a battle pet, which is super cute as well. There's going to be a new raid, Ashara's Eternal Palace. So we're going to go into the palace and take on Ashara. We're looking at 8 bosses, including a Naga hatchery. They're looking at an underwater boss. It's not 100% confirmed, but it sounds like it's something that they want to do, as well as us fighting Queen Ashara herself. Then we've got another new zone that we're going to be going, and this is Mechagon. So there's a vault in Tiergard Sound, and the vault opens, and there's a portal to Mechagon. Mechagon is a new place. It's full of mechagnomes. It's ruled by a king named Mechagon. It's this society where the more robot parts you have, the higher up in society you go. This is going to be both an outdoor zone and a mega dungeon. So if we take a look here, we're going to be working with this group of mechagnomes who have decided to resist becoming entirely robotic. This is kind of a screen or a art concept of what Mechagon is going to look like. We've got some outdoor shots here. I like this a lot. I think it looks like Borderlands or maybe Fallout in this particular screenshot here. Obviously, this doesn't really, but these sort of more deserted wasteland sort of pics do. So this is the outdoor content zone that you're going to be playing in, and then we have Mechagon, the Mega Dungeon. So the Mega Dungeon, we're looking at 8 bosses, which is just as much as we have in the raid. For Ashara's Eternal Palace. King Mechagon's the final boss, and for now, they're saying it's going to be a mythic-only dungeon. We're going to encounter some new minions, some pretty cool kind of high-tech looking stuff here. And this is a screenshot they showed of the Mega Dungeon version of Mechagon as well. So lots of interesting stuff there. We're going to get more continuation of the story of Sylvanas, Sourfang, Jaina, and Anduin, as well as continuation of the story with Magni about trying to save Azeroth. They said that it's not going very well, so we'll see about that. 2 new Heritage Armor sets. I believe these were supposed to come out in 8.2.5, but don't quote me on that. We're getting Heritage Armor for the Gnomes. I actually think this set looks really, really good. I like the color scheme. I like the way everything fits together. I like the textures and how smooth everything looks. I like the goggles being up on the forehead instead of on the face. I just think this overall looks really, really awesome. So good job to the people that did this set. That brings us to the other set we're getting, which is the set for Tauren. And yeah, this I think looks really good as well. The totem they have said it goes in the cloak spot, but this definitely it looks like Thunder Bluff. It's very Thunder Bluff style. I like how they added a little more detail, a little more pronunciation in the face here of like the Tauren face. That's pretty cool. I just think they've done a really good job with both these Heritage Armor sets. Then we're going to get 2 new island expedition locations. One of them is going to be Crestfall, which is a location over in Coltiris. Kind of the spooky woods, Dressfars type stuff going on here, as you can see from the screenshots. And then we also have Snow Blossom, which is an island full of a lot of Pandaran farmers, and you can see here different, like vegetable patches and stuff like that. So 2 kind of totally different islands that we're going to get as new locations as well. And then they talked about some of the other features we're going to be getting. Heroic War Fronts. These are an option where you can queue up with 9 or more friends to play War Fronts with a higher difficulty and collect epic rewards. I kind of expect this to not actually come out in 8.2. I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like it's going to get delayed or something, but it's been announced. So that's going to be an interesting feature to do. I don't know, like in their current iteration, I don't feel like Warfronts are all that fun. I don't know if just massively increasing the difficulty would make them more fun, but if the rewards are worth it, maybe. We'll have to see. There's a new PvP arena located in Mechagon. Battle for Azeroth Season 3 is going to be coming out. They've got a Nazjatar themed affix for Mythic Plus. There's the new PvP system and another item level increase as well for all the Azerite gear and everything else, your World Quest rewards. And then Flying, Pathfinder Part 2 is going to be coming out, I believe, in 8.2.5. Don't quote me there either, but I think that's when it's coming out, which will give you the ability to fly in Coltiris and Zandalar. And they're also coming out with some new flying mounts to celebrate that. Like the Bumblebee mount that a lot of us are really excited for, myself included. And also we've got some robotic style parrots to kind of go with the Mechagon theme as well. So that's stuff that's coming out in 8.2, possibly 8.2.5, depending. But we're definitely getting a new landmass, and I think we're getting 2 new landmasses to go explore. And one of the things that I wanted to point out is that they have said, in regards to Nazjatar, that they are looking at some of the favorite places that we've gone to over the past expansions, like the Throne or the Thunder Isle or Timeless Isles in Mist of Pandaria, as like inspiration for creating Nazjatar. I think if that's the case, this is going to be really, really good content. Timeless Isles were a lot of fun, being able to go there, hunt down rares that were actually rares. There were drops everywhere. There were loot upgrades. A lot of the enemies were not easy to just kill by yourselves. You wanted to get into a group for a lot of these things. I think that, if they really do draw inspiration from that kind of stuff, this is going to be one heck of a fun zone. So I'm really looking forward to finding out more details about it. And I actually do have a lot of hope for what Battle for Azeroth is going to be like come 8.2 compared to what it is right now. So I think we're going to have to use 8.1 and 8.1.5 to kind of hold us over and get us there. But I am really hoping that once 8.2 comes out, the fun factor of Battle for Azeroth is really going to take a nice uptick and increase across the board. So we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful, though. And then the final thing that got announced for 8.2.5 here is we're getting the upgraded Worgen and Goblin models, which is fantastic. They've got some previews here, and these look really good. I think they look really, really awesome. This is the male Worgen model here. Everything is just smoother. I mean, the details in the fur look a lot better. There's a big issue with the claws and the teeth looking like super like polygonal and not natural on the models that we currently have. So it's nice to see those cleaned up and they actually look like teeth and claws now. I don't have a goblin character right now that I'm actively playing. I do have a Worgen. My Death Knight's a Worgen. So I'm excited to get these upgrades. The female Worgen actually looks pretty good here. They've done a massive improvement. I like how they kind of softened the face a little bit, made it a little more effeminate, a little more feminine, and just all around kind of cleaned it up. I think the models here look really, really good. I think they've done a great job with the updates to these models, and I'm excited for those to come in 8.2.5. Then we've got the updated Goblin models. I think, the big thing here is just cleaner lines all around. I think most of the models look pretty decent, but between the cleaner lines and the better animations and facial expressions, I think that's going to do a lot to really improve the quality of the character models for those of us who have Goblin and Worgen characters. So that's really, really exciting. In 8.3, we didn't get any news for 8.3. They did show off a little slide with the N'Zoth fish that we saw in the Ashara Warbringer video. So they're kind of, they dropped a tiny little hint that N'Zoth is probably going to be involved in 8.3. One of the other things they did say is that the first time we're going to see N'Zoth is in Shrine of the Storms, the raid, but it's going to be a piece of him. They didn't really give too many details beyond that, so I'm still of the mind that I hope that N'Zoth is not the final boss of this expansion, and that N'Zoth is worming his way in to be like the highlight of the next expansion. And I would prefer that, this expansion kind of end on the whole faction war and, that kind of stuff. And then we go into the old gods and the Black Empire and all those sorts of things. So I did have a few articles that came up right at the tail end here. So just jump through this really quick. So we're getting the Reaping affix is the affix that we're going to get from Mythic Plus with 8.2. It basically causes all the enemies that you've killed prior to a certain point in a dungeon to revive and run and chase down your party once you get to a certain point in the dungeon. It sounds pretty crazy. Some more details on the underwater boss, and then they also talked about Island Expedition treasure maps, which are similar to elite missions. The rewards are going to be lucrative, but Blizzard hasn't confirmed what they are yet. It might be some of the Azerite armor currency that we talked about in previous newscasts as well. Coming up, they're going to be taking some movement and utility abilities off the GCD, and they're allowing us to transmog fist weapons with other one-handed weapons. So they mentioned that they're happy with offensive cooldowns being on the global cooldown, but they are concerned about movement abilities and utility abilities specifically. So they're talking about, not confirmed, these being the movement abilities they may potentially take off the global cooldown in a future patch. So that's Vengeful Retreat for Demon Hunters, Wild Charge for Druid, Harpoon for Hunter, Feral Lunge for Enhancement, Charge for Fury and Arms Warrior, and Intercept for Protection Warrior. As far as utility abilities go, same sort of deal. They already took Ignore Pain off the global cooldown on the PTR, but here are some other abilities that are potentially coming off the global cooldown as well. And then they announced that fist weapons were going to be able to be transmog with other one-handed weapons, which is great because on my monk and mostly on my monk, I've really wished that I could transmog my fist weapons to like swords or something, anything else. So it's nice that this is going to be coming. There's no official date on when these changes might be happening, but that's definitely on the table. Next up, we got a little bit of stuff here where they corrected the fact that the Kul Tiran mages were going to be definitely playable. They talked about how the name Ashara Rises has a lot to do with the patch. So they're curious why parts of Nazjatar, historically an underwater area in the lore, appear to not be underwater in 8.2. And basically they said it's down to underwater. Being underwater for long periods of time in World of Warcraft is not fun, but they wanted to get the vibe of the area, of the zone off. So I think this is, the way I understand it, it's like a hole in the ocean. So the ocean kind of pours into the zone, but there's no water really areas in there. So you go down and you're still running around on land and everything, but I think you should be able to look up and just see like walls of water all around you, which I think would be a really cool effect. And they've talked about how there's lots of clever travel opportunities for moving in and out of water. I imagine they'll have things like, the rivers that kind of push you along, but something a little more intense than that as well. And then this is the reason why they were considering an underwater boss, is because they really wanted to capture like fighting the Naga in their territory. There was a kind of a cameo by Chris Metzen, who he came back and he said, when's the true war chief of the Horde coming back? That was a reference to Thrall, and they kind of dropped some hints and said, maybe we'll see Thrall sooner rather than later. So there's a possibility of Thrall coming back into the story at some point. As far as I know, he was supposed to come back for one of the quests involving Vol'jin that you can unlock. I think you can unlock that quest now if you're far enough along in the Zandalari quest line, but he was not included. So, we're still waiting for him to come back at some point, and they haven't said too much about what he's going to end up doing when he does come back. And that's pretty much it. That's everything that was covered in the BlizzCon announcements. That's the news. That's the updates. Pretty big, pretty huge deal. BlizzCon. I think that absolutely World of Warcraft got the most content out of anyone from BlizzCon. Yes, Diablo got like a whole new game, but World of Warcraft got like boom, content, and I think that's really exciting for us as members of the WoW community to know that all this content is coming up, and they still haven't really said anything about 8.3, which we know is going to be a big deal as well. So that's pretty much going to be it for the stream. I appreciate anybody who has tuned in. I'm going to take a look at the chat real quick and just see what's going on.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the news.
I knew I would mess that up. Let's see. Always get your notifications a bit after you start. Okay, I'll see what I can do about that. And the parrot is really cool looking. Yes, I agree. Although I think my favorite mount out of what I saw was... It's got to be that Wad Wolf that's on fire, or maybe that Sea Horse that's coming with Nazjatar. So flying is definitely going to be something that I'm looking forward to as well. Although I will go ahead and say it, I don't have Pathfinder unlocked in WoD or Legion. I couldn't be bothered, and here's the reason. I mentioned this in one of my streams. The thing that I hate more than anything in World of Warcraft, literally anything. You could put anything in front of me, and I would probably rather do that than this. And that's rep grinds. I hate rep grinds. So, you put those in front of me and tell me, hey, you got to grind out this rep for Pathfinder. And I'm just like, nah, I'll just run around everywhere. So we'll see. We'll see if by the time flying comes around, I've actually got those reps unlocked or not. Playing a bunch of different alts is not conducive to getting your rep ground out, so you can get those unlocks and stuff. So we'll see. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with me. I wanted to remind everybody here at the end of the stream that next Monday I will not be doing the WoW Tea Time stream. I'm taking the day off for that. I've got some visitors coming in this weekend and stuff like that, so I'm going to be skipping that stream. I will be back next week at 8 p.m. Central Time for the WoW news. Also, if you're not aware, go check out, I've got a giveaway going on. If you go to the channel, look for the October channel update. It's called All the Information You Need. Hit 500 subscribers on the channel, so in celebration of that, I'm doing a giveaway. Check out that video. Gives you all the details you need to enter into the giveaway and possibly win yourself a prize. I've got a Battle.net gift card up as a prize, as well as a bunch of game codes for Steam and Battle.net and some battle pets as well. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you're having a good time in World of Warcraft or whatever game you happen to be playing right now. If you like the video, like it. Check out some other videos. Subscribe if you think it's worth it. And I'll see you on the next video.